Have you ever traveled to a place you've never been and felt an immediate connection? Maybe it was the dynamic landscape, or maybe it was the kindness of the people and culture, but it resonated with you as somewhere special. My name is Jeff Rosenfeld. I'm a philanthropist and amateur explorer. I believe that open spaces are critical not only to ecology, but also to our human social stability. We are in Northwest Nevada, traveling through public lands with a team from our nonprofit, the Wildwood Open Lands Foundation. We have the privilege of accepting a project to collect wildlife and habitat observations for the Nevada Department of Wildlife. This is the story of our journey. The Wildwood Open Lands Foundation, or WOLF, is a nonprofit conservation organization that recognizes Nevada for the incredible unspoiled resource that it is. The founders of WOLF were travelers and outdoorsmen who are deeply passionate about keeping open lands, public lands, accessible and protected from abuse and exploitation. We seek to inspire others to embrace their public lands through travel, stewardship, and education. On this multi-week route through a remote corner of Nevada, we've been tasked to survey and document wildlife, habitat, and infrastructure that supports the survival of the wildlife population.
My name is Kirsten Graham. I am bikepacking Northern Nevada. It's exploring Nevada's backroads by bicycle. I started this passion project in 2014, and I did it so that I could share what Nevada has to offer to the bikepacking community. Since then, I've hosted numerous self-supported trips over my favorite routes, and I don't see this stopping. I'm a board advisor to WOLF because the organization's mission resonates with the goals I have for bikepacking Northern Nevada. I'm able to apply my nonprofit experience to my advisory role at WOLF. Open lands conservation is landscape conservation. This is equally important for wildlife to thrive as it is for people to prosper. We need wild encounters, looking into the eye of an antelope running past, finding bees huddled in a blossom for warmth, and watching trout streak away in a wild stream. Wildwood Open Lands Foundation is here to make sure these opportunities are around for generations to come. Citizen science is important because we live in a time of scientific distrust and illiteracy. The humanizing of science should improve the success of moving from scientific process to science-based public policy. As a society, we have a need to volunteer, and citizen science is one place where we can all volunteer.
I'm KP Pauly, owner of Zero Declination in Reno, Nevada. Zero Declination is an overland truck shop. We do trucks and campers, and really our goal is to help people get out and explore and do their hobbies and activities in the outdoors. My background is pretty extensive global travel. I love exploring natural spaces all around the world. I've been lucky enough to go to South America, Africa, and just dig into these little natural corners of our globe. And now that I'm back here in Reno and settled, that's my goal, to really help others do the same as much as I can with the technical knowledge and expertise that we've built here at my business. We pretty commonly partner with Wildwood Open Lands. They do a great job of promoting and supporting conservation of our public lands here in northern Nevada, which we're so lucky to have. Like I said, I've traveled around the world and we have some truly spectacular outdoor spaces here. So it's really an honor for me to be able to take a bit of the pedestal, I guess, of the business and help support someone that does such a good, worthwhile work in the outdoor sector. This trip took us deep into the northwest corner of remote Nevada. Beginning just north of Gerlach along the edge of the Black Rock Desert, we took the path less traveled through the Calico Mountains towards High Rock Canyon. Passing through the canyon, we dipped into Cedarville, California for a resupply, before turning east and entering the Sheldon National Wildlife Refuge, where we performed our survey of pika dens, enjoyed our first multi-day camp in inclement weather, and then documented the condition of a wildlife guzzler. After grabbing burgers and gas at Denio Junction, we turned south and shifted into Four Low for a climb past the Thousand Creek Gorge and down into Virgin Valley Hot Springs. Another remote route through the Badger Mountains brought us to Soldier Meadows. Good graded roads carried us swiftly along through a microplaya with a view of the desert, before finally ending near where we began, at Cassidy Mine on the edge of the Black Rock.
Jeff, where are we today?
All right, this is Mahogany Canyon, which is a side canyon off of High Rock in the Black Rock Canyon, High Rock Desert, Immigrant Trails, National Conservation Area in northern Nevada. This is definitely one of my favorite places, and I'm glad we got to stay here last night. It's really great.
Thanks for bringing us out here. It's awful.
It's
awful pretty.
It's awful pretty. And at the end of the canyon where we are, where Mahogany Canyon is, this is a wilderness area, and you can see it right behind us. And we've seen some blackbirds and some deer this morning. It's really a neat place, and
Canada
Just
geese.
Canada geese. It's just fortunate that we have places like this where we just rolled out here and nobody, just us,
Yeah, we haven't seen anybody for a long time.
and fantastic weather and rocks. The rocks with the sun off them, they just pop with color. So it's definitely a place that's worth fighting for and worth keeping open and available.
Absolutely. Yeah, I always feel so lucky to be near this just wealth of opportunity to explore and see these beautiful wild places where, wow, there's just not a lot of this level of solitude any longer
Right.
in the world. So it's really nice to be able to experience it and have those opportunities.
It's a jewel. It sure is.
The volunteer program at the Nevada Department of Wildlife is very large. It's made up of many, many very dedicated individuals. They help us do a lot of different surveys. They do pika surveys, they do lizard surveys, they help us stock fish in different waterways, they help construct guzzlers, they do all sorts of things. We're very, very lucky to have such a large group of people that are dedicated and out on the Nevada landscape. They help us in so many different ways. It multiplies our work so that all of our biologists don't have to get to every single corner of the state. They can be out there where we can't be. And they also help us by filling out timesheets that we can use to match to federal grants. And in the long run, it just helps us get a lot more data on the species here in Nevada.
Jeff, what's the relationship between wolf and pika?
Pika. Well, there's really no relationship between us and pika. Like we are attempting to be of service to the resource, and in this moment during this trip through the Sheldon National Wildlife Refuge, we've been asked to conduct pika surveys of habitat, and so that is our first task for this trip.
We'll start where we can reference known pika locations. To do so, we're using the 2022 Nevada Pika Atlas. Those locations in the Sheldon National Wildlife Refuge are identified by these green hexagons. Although the map has UTM coordinates, we're using the Catnip Mountains to the north, Badger Mountain to the south, and this road that doesn't show up very well on the camera as our landmark for navigation. As we move to a more detailed map for navigation, you can see we have the Catnip Mountains here to the north, and here is that road we were using for a boundary from the other map. So the hexagonal area of known pika habitat really centers around this specific location, Andy's Place. That's where we'll begin our investigation.
The pika are small mountain-dwelling mammals native to North America and Asia. Pika are the smallest members of the lagomorph order, which includes rabbits and hares. Pika look like rabbits, but have short limbs, a round body, and short round ears. They prefer rocky, high alpine slopes and graze on a range of plants, primarily grasses, flowers, young stems. In autumn, they pull hay, soft twigs, and other food under rocks to eat over the wintertime. American pika are found in the mountains of western U.S. and southwest Canada. Pikas prefer foraging in temperatures below 77 degrees Fahrenheit in shaded areas away from direct sunlight. There's a link between temperature increases and lost foraging time, where for every increase of 1 degree Celsius, pikas lose 3% of foraging time. It's believed that warmer temperatures are forcing pikas to higher elevations and further north. Pika habitat surveys are helpful in informing our understanding of how and where pikas survive and thrive.
Jeff, where does Wolf stand on access issues? I mean, when we talk about conservation, are we talking about limiting access only for certain groups? How do we deal with this?
No, it's quite the opposite. We're talking about open lands. We're talking about open lands and access for everyone, not just if they're four-wheelers or off-road racers, but just mountain bikers and hikers, equestrians, hunters and fishermen. Public lands are that jewel that should be accessible by everybody. And we want to promote that, and we want to promote access, responsible recreation, outdoor ethics, as opposed to abuse and exploitation of our open lands.
Well, for me, the biggest thing is you're educating people in land stewardship and wise use, leave no trace, right? I mean, I see people out on the trails all the time that don't have a good stewardship ethic and don't care for the lands that they're recreating in, and that becomes problematic. And you guys are carrying that message out to people in a way that is relatable, and it's very clearly put to them, and the message can resonate with folks, right, to where people are going to accept it and then start to behave better when they're out on the trails. And so you guys are, in that regard, that stewardship messaging is phenomenal.
Do you feel good when you're out here helping out?
Yes.
Yeah. How does it make you feel?
Usually excited and stoked.
Stoked?
Mhm.
I get pretty stoked out here too. What would you tell your grandpa about this place?
There's a lot of cool pieces of wood and there's a lot of cool rocks.
What's the favorite thing that you've seen out here?
Probably the golden eagles.
The weather forecast wasn't looking favorable, so we found a good spot to lay up for a day, circle the wagons, and wait out the storm. As conditions deteriorated the next morning, we ended up with a little more than we had prepared for.
Nah, it never rains in the desert.
Never rains in the desert, it's so dry.
What do you think, guys? We having a good time?
It's done.
Ant, what's your thoughts here? Sweet. And it's snowing.
And it is. This is the second trip in a row I got snowed on with you.
Right. We're trying to help you. Sorry you broke it.
Woo! You wouldn't believe that it could be snowing harder.
As the storm passed on, the crew took stock of our gear, which had weathered well, and prepared for our next task. Our second wildlife habitat project is to conduct inspections of guzzlers. A guzzler is a man-made water collection system installed in key locations for the purpose of providing water to wildlife during the dry summer months. For our task, we'll be inspecting 2 guzzlers in Bobcat Canyon, north of Route 140, identified by these blue squares.
On this first guzzler here, we're doing some work for NDOW today, doing some guzzler inspections. And we found the first guzzler, which is on the lower end, which is called Bobcat. I think its identifier is HU for Humboldt County, number 33. But we were looking for another up higher that we didn't find, and we climbed as high. If you want to pan up, there's a band of red and purple rock, probably iron and manganese in stone. But we didn't see anything up there, and no evidence. But there's been this mountain is basically a lot of unconsolidated rock and a lot of rockfall zones, and as you see as we walk through here, a lot of erosion too. So the other guzzler could be underneath all this somewhere.
Finn, tell me what you got.
Crystallus, fossil, and I was wondering what this rock was. It's light and soft.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Where'd you find them? Can you point to where you found them?
That canyon.
Found some rocks. We didn't find enough guzzlers, huh?
No, but we did find some cool rocks.
Those are cool rocks.
So in joining this was kind of an introduction to the Wildwood Open Lands Foundation and what we're doing. And so over the last couple days, we've done some travel, and we've all driven through and camped out in terrain that has far exceeded all of our expectations, and done some volunteer work along the way. And so, is this something new to you? Is this something that, like, the voluntourism aspect of what we've been doing, how does that make you feel? Does that enhance your experience in being on a tour like this?
Oh, absolutely. Because it's one thing to come out and experience this, but it's a totally different experience when you're giving back and you're in some of the volunteer work and then getting clued into some of the species that you're encountering in the region. So I think that's probably a piece that goes missing quite often, and I think it's amazingly important to kind of add that piece in, to get to see what's actually going on in the habitat that you're enjoying, because you're seeing it. But then when you go to do the volunteer pieces, like we did, looking at the pika, and even looking at the facility we were looking for yesterday, the one facility is not even there, right? Where you know that the animals are actually needing that resource, right? They're looking for the water. So getting to go out and experience those pieces that you would probably drive by and never even notice. You would never notice. You'd never see it from the road. You would miss it altogether. So I think that piece was really fun. It was really interesting, yeah.
Cover my face with my hoodie on this cold road, trying to break the bank till my pockets getting more growth.
We turned south, returning to the Black Rock Desert NCA, and made camp for several days at Soldier Meadows. Here we captured herpetology observations and enjoyed the hot springs. After we'd achieved our goals for citizen science obligations, the dynamics of life found their way back to the team. Several members needed to depart for varied reasons, leaving the remainder of the planned route to the last half of the crew.
Here we are, out on the microplaya. And here we go. Shit.
We were elated when reinforcements joined us on the Micro Playa. Our last days of the expedition were spent at Cassidy Mines, coinciding with BLM's Black Rock Rendezvous Memorial Day events. Perfect weather and location to wrap up several weeks of backcountry travel.
We made significant contributions to 3 projects: Pika, Reptile and Amphibian, and the Guzzler surveys.
So at the end of our trip, I'd say that we had been able to add some value to the understanding of the pika habitat inside of the wildlife refuge. We had made observations outside of the previously surveyed areas that indicate potential active pika habitat. This suggests that the species has been successful in establishing a wider footprint than previously documented. It'll be up to the state biologists who get to make the determination, but I feel like we were successful in our assignment in being able to observe, document, and pass on that data. I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing other than being out here, traveling with this team. It's a good place.
All right, we got 5 seconds.
It's not flashing this time.
It's not flashing.
It flashes right before it takes. Maybe.
Just kidding, this one's a video, it's not 5 seconds.
Sweet. Nice.